Unit 10 Real Estate Brokerage. A real estate broker is someone that is licensed to arrange and negotiate real estate transactions. The responsibilities of a real estate broker include purchasing homes, land, and commercial properties and writing contracts for listing. In most contexts, a broker is a higher level license than a real estate agent and is authorized to employ real estate agents to work under a broker's supervision. Many people not familiar with the industry of real estate and use the terms real estate agent and broker interchangeably. There are differences among the three, however, regarding the qualifications and the exact services each professional offers. A real estate agent is a professional in the industry who has taken and passed all required real estate classes, along with the real estate licensing exam in the state in which he or she intends to work. It is usually the starting point for most of those going into the real estate field. A real estate broker has continued his or her education past the real estate agent level and has passed a state real estate broker license exam. Real estate brokers can work as independent agents or have other agents working for them. An associate broker may share in the brokerage profits above and beyond the typical agent commission. Perhaps the most important distinction between the two is that a broker can work on his or her own, while an agent has to work under a licensed broker. The duties and responsibilities of a real estate broker can be divided into two sections. Brokers working for sellers. While many times an agent working on a broker's behalf will take on these duties, the broker often handles transaction for sellers as well. Some of their duties on behalf of sellers include: list homes for sale, share the brokerage listings with other broker members to get buyers to the property, share the listing commission with successful buyer brokers, advise the home seller in preparing their home for listing and showings, supervise showing, report to sellers results and feedback, submit any and all offers to the seller for consideration, help the seller to negotiate offers to try and execute a purchase contract with a buyer, work on the seller's behalf in coordinating the transaction process, deliver and explain documents, disclosures and transaction items, work with the seller through to the closing and their move out from the home. Brokers working with buyers. This is another side of a broker, working with people wanting to buy a property with advice and services to help them to locate the property and complete the transaction. Their duties on behalf of the buyer include: help buyers to locate all properties in their desired area in their price range and meeting their criteria, coordinate and help buyers to visit and view properties. When a decision is made to attempt a purchase, help the buyer to craft their initial offer and purchase agreement. Work with the buyer on their behalf in negotiations with the seller through their agent broker. Once a purchase contract is executed, coordinate the transaction process on the buyer side. Deliver and explain documents in the transaction process. Coordinate inspections, reports and repair negotiations. Assist buyers through to closing and taking possession. The basic characteristics of a brokerage contract are: every brokerage contract concluded between a natural person or partnership and a real estate broker or agency for the sale, lease or exchange of a chiefly residential immovable containing less than 5 dwellings must contain a specific expiry date and time. If none are indicated, the contract automatically terminates 30 days after coming into effect. It must also include minimum sale buying price, terms of sale buying, and commission provisions. There are usually no rules in or regulations stipulating a minimum or maximum term for a brokerage contract. The term of the contract must be agreed upon and indicated on the brokerage contract form before signing. The brokerage agency or broker must act according to the client's wishes. The client, for his part, must understand that the period needed to promote or search for an immovable and get the best possible price for the seller or an acceptable purchase price for the buyer depends on current market conditions. Below you can find an example of a real estate brokerage contract. Usually, a real estate agency has hundreds and hundreds of documents, and it is very challenging to provide a specific record-keeping rule, which documents are essential to keep and which not so important and can be thrown away. The best advice is to keep all records for at least 5 years, and major contracts, such as the listing agreement, purchase contract, and disclosure forms for at least 10 years. Some records that are very important and should be kept long-term are the principal documents that are part of the transaction, such as the listing agreement, purchase offer, counter-offers, agency relationship disclosure, property defects disclosure, escrow instructions, and repair agreements. B. Backup documents that demonstrate that the property was priced properly and promoted legally. These include comparable sales data, sales brochures on the property, property advertisements, and a list of other properties the buyer was shown prior to this accepted offer. These documents can be invaluable if you're charged with a fair housing violation. C. Documents that pertain to the physical condition of the property and land, including land surveys, inspections, current and previous, if the sellers kept them, the preliminary title report, permits, receipts from the seller for repairs made before sale, and current repair receipts for agreed by or requested repairs. These types of documentation will be valuable if questions arise about disclosure of known defects. D. Receipts from buyers that they had received any required disclosure, such as pamphlets on lead-based paint, mold, earthquake safety, flood warnings, and so on. E. Correspondence, email, faxes, and notes of phone calls and conversations between the principals and the sales associates, as well as with third parties, such as escrow or title agents, inspectors, or repair people. For example, if you receive 2 offers for a property, be sure you have documentation of the date and time offers were received, replied to, and accepted, as well as how you presented each offer. F. Any prior offers and respective documents correspondence. When dealing with consumers, you must always ensure that you act fairly, you must provide accurate and valid information, and should by any means avoid business practices that are unfair, misleading or aggressive. There are 3 key types of practices to consider. 1. Practices prohibited in all circumstances. These include cases of false endorsements, authorizations, for example falsely claiming that something has been approved by a public or private body. Misleading availability, including bait advertising, misleading context effect, pyramid schemes, etc. 2. Misleading actions and omissions, misleading actions and misleading omissions that cause, or are likely to cause, the average consumer to take a different transactional decision. 3. Aggressive practices. Aggressive commercial practices can intimidate or exploit consumers, restricting their ability to make free or informed choices. Some useful tips. 1. During any transaction, make sure that all documents are properly signed and dated. Documents should be signed and dated by all parties involved: sellers, buyers, and real estate practitioners. 2. Just before the closing of an agreement, check your files to ensure no critical document is missing. Keep checklists, one for buyers, one for sellers, so that you won't overlook anything. 3. There is often a considerable risk in the operation of a brokerage. To minimize risk, a broker must continuously be updated about relevant and important changes in the legislation and educate and monitor their agents. 4. A good advice regarding real estate records is to keep all records for at least 5 years, and major contracts, such as the listing agreement, purchase contract, and disclosure forms for at least 10 years.